This is Mrs. Sebastian, and we are going to look at volume on Study Island, and this is Tennessee State Standard 8GC7. Jaden wants to know how much water it takes to fill the water tank. The water tank is made up of a cone, cylinder, and half sphere, and we're going to use 3.14 for pi. The complete diameter of the water tower is 6 meters, so that the radius is half of that, or 3. So I'm going to write all 3 of my formulas up here. I've got 1/3 times pi r squared h. I've got my cylinder, V equals pi r squared h. And then I've got my sphere, 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay, so we're going to look at the cone first. So I'm going to stay in purple for the cone, and I'm just going to fill in what I need here. 3.14 for pi. The radius is 3 squared times the height. The height of this cone is 2. So now I'm just going to plug that into my calculator. And I like to do 3.14 times 3 times 3 times 2, and then divide by that 1/3, or divide by 3, and you do get 18.84 meters cubed. Okay, so now I'm going to jump down here to my cylinder, and this one is just pi r squared times the height. So there's pi. R is the radius of the water tower, which is 3, and the height is 7. So now I'm just going to plug that in. 3.14 times 3 times 3 times 7. And I do get 197.82 meters cubed. And I'm going to write these over here as we get to them. Okay, now we're going to look at the sphere. So the sphere, it's showing the radius is 3. So I'm just going to say pi (3) cubed, and that means 3 times 3 times 3. So I'm going to say 4 times 3.14 times 3 times 3 times 3. And then I'm going to take that number. I multiplied across the top, 4 times everything on the top. So I've got 339.12, and I'm going to divide that by 3. So the volume of an entire sphere is 113.04 meters cubed, but remember we only have half of it. So I need to divide this number by 2. And I do get 56.52. And so to get my total, I'm going to add all of these up. And I do get 273.18, or 273 and 1800ths. A fruit bowl contains apples, oranges, and bananas. The radius of one of the oranges is 1.4. Okay, find the approximate volume of the orange. So the volume of a sphere, or an orange, is 4/3 times pi times r cubed. So I'm just going to fill in all the things I know. So first I'm going to cube 1.4. So I'm going to do 1.4 times 1.4 times 1.4 times 3.14 times 4. Okay, and I'll still divide by 3 on this next step. I just multiplied across the top. and I got 34.46. And now I'm going to divide that by 3. And I do get that the volume of that orange is about 11.49, and that would be inches cubed. So A. If the sphere shown has a radius of 7, what is the approximate volume of the sphere? So I've got 4/3 times pi r cubed. So I'm going to rewrite 4/3. I've got 3.14 times my radius, which they said was 7, cubed. So I'm going to say in my calculator 7 times 7 times 7 times 3.14 times the 4 that's on top. And so what I've got so far is 4,308.08 still divided by 3. Okay, so when I divide, I do get the volume is 1,436.03. So D. Okay, I've got the volume of a cylinder shown above if R is 4 and X is 7. So the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared times the height. So it shows X is my height up here, R is my radius. So I'm going to rewrite this, 3.14. It says my radius is 4 squared, times my height, which is 7. So all I have to do is plug that straight into my calculator, 3.14 times 4 times 4 times 7. Or you could have done 4 squared. And you do get, oh, they actually wanted us to use pi. Okay, if you would have done it this way, you would have gotten 351.68 units cubed. But they did not want us to multiply the 3.14. I should have looked at that first. But to do these, so all we have to do is leave the pi there and do r squared times 7. So these are actually easier. 4 times 4 times 7. And we do get 112, and you just leave the pi. So 112 pi cubic units. Okay, this one does say use 3.14 for pi, so we're going to do the same thing. The volume is pi r squared times h. We are using 3.14 for pi. It tells us the r is 5 and the h is 11. So all I have to do is plug it in. 3.14 times 5 times 5 times 11. And that is 863.5, and this is units cube. So 863.5. Okay, if H is 18 and R is 6, find the volume of the cube. I'm sorry, of the cone. So we are using 3.14 for pi. So I'm going to write our formula. This is always my first step. Always write the formula. So I've got 1/3 times 3.14 times r squared, and it tells me my r is 6, times the height, which is 18. So I'm going to multiply. I always multiply just the numbers and decimals, and then I'll go back to do the 1/3 in just a moment. So 3.14 times 6 times 6 times 18. And that is divided by 3. That's the same as multiplying by 1/3. So that is 678.24. and that is units cubed. So A. Leah bought a conical candle wax mold. Okay, so conical is a cone, so I'm going to go ahead and write down my formula before we get there. Okay. It does want me to use 3.14. And let's see, the height of the mold is 16.2 inches. And the radius of the inside of the top is 2.2. So 2.2 and 16.2 for the height. She fills the mold completely with candle wax so that it is level with the top of the conical mold. So all we've got to do is multiply it out. So leave the 1/3 for last. So 3.14 times 2.2 times 2.2 times 16.2. So we get 246.20, and we're going to divide that by 3. And we do get 82.07 inches cubed. Okay. James bought a new graduated cylinder for his chemistry class. There we go. It holds 739 and 6/10 pi milliliters of liquid. If the cylinder has a radius of 4.3, how tall? Okay, so we've got to write our volume first. Of a cylinder is pi r squared times the height. So we're going to plug in what we know. We know the volume, 739.6 pi. So we're going to leave pi alone. Okay, equals pi. We know our radius, it's 4.3 squared times h. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to divide both sides by pi. Because this is all multiplied, I can divide the entire side, and I can divide the entire side over here. They cancel, leaving just the number. And I've got 4.3 squared times h. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify 4.3 squared. So 4.3 times 4.3 is 18.49. And so I need to know what multiplies with 18.49 to get 739 and 6/10. So I'm going to divide by 18 and 49 hundredths on both sides to undo it. So 739.6 divided by 18.49 gives me the height is 40. So 40 would be your answer. If the sphere shown above has a radius of 5 units, what is the approximate volume of the sphere? So the sphere has 4/3 times pi r cubed. Now I notice in my answer that all of them have pi, so I don't have to multiply by 3.14. I just leave the pi symbol. So I know that my radius is 5. So I'm going to do 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. And I'm going to just reorganize these just a little bit so that pi is over here and I don't mess with it. I'm going to multiply that by that 4 that is on top. And I get 500 over 3 pi. So I'm going to do 500 divided by 3 and get 166.67 unit or pi units. If H is 11 and R is 3, what is the volume of the cone shown? So I'm going to write my formula. And pi is in my answer, so I'm just going to leave it hanging around. I'll put it out here. So R is 3, H is 11. So I'm going to say 1/3, or divide by 3, same thing. 3 squared is 9. 9 times 11 is 99. So 99 divided by 3 is 33 pi units cubed. So my answer would be D.